Ninja Show, where we walk you through all the news, notes, and events happening in the nerd world. My name is Joe Uribe, producer for Nerd Ninja TV, and I'm going to be filling in for Crystal Starr, who is on a little hiatus tonight. So you're going to have to deal with me, guys, unfortunately. Well, with me today are Freddie, our resident comic book expert, and Craig, the nerd genius. How are you guys doing today?
I am swell good, sir. Ready to talk some chop.
I've been fantastic today. It's just been a good day.
Well, perfect. Well, it's not been a good day for a lot of Batman vs. Superman fans, that's for sure.
No.
It's been a crazy week with Batman vs. Superman hitting the theaters and just about everyone voicing their opinion. But today we're going to shift gears from Gotham and Metropolis, and we're actually going to see what other universes and genres have been up to. Then maybe head back over to the DC Cinematic Universe for an interesting rumor or two. There are definitely a couple of those. But let's get started and see what Marvel has been up to. This week, a host of new images have hit the internet. Some behind-the-scenes footage filming of Doctor Strange. Let's take a look. First image we have are of our unknown villain as of yet, played by Mads Mikkelsen. So let's take a look at this image right here. What do you think, guys?
I love the eyes.
Love the eyes?
He
Yeah.
just looks, just with the eyes and everything just looks super creepy.
Well, let's actually move that forward. We can get a little bit closer image of those eyes, which are definitely a defining feature.
I love the practical effects. You know, I'm a huge fan of practical effects. So especially since Scott Derrickson is directing this movie. He did Sinister and Exorcism of Emily Rose. He's a big horror director. So I was super psyched to see him on board with this. I am actually really happy with this effect we got right here because most of the stuff I've seen him do, other than the makeup for Sinister, it's mostly been CGI.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
this could just very well be a glimpse of everything, and the rest could be CGI. We have yet to determine that since they actually just finished production. So let's see a little closer. There you go. How's that?
That's pretty
That's
awesome for just
awesome.
makeup.
I was gonna
too,
say.
Yeah. So
That's-
it's going to be exciting to see what they do in post because that's all they're going to be doing right now.
Well, here's the big question. Who's the villain? This is Doctor Strange. Now, we do know that there are only a few villains that have encountered Stephen Strange throughout the years. Dormammu is one of them. The Undying Ones, Nightmare, as well as Baron Mordo. So, what do you think could possibly be the villain here, Craig?
Well, I think it's like the Undying Ones. The weird stuff with their eyes look like they shoot those blasting eye beams right out of their eyes and just messed up their whole face. And that would give excuse why his eyes look just that really disgusting, creepy look.
And if you notice in the image, there is another person following him that has the same effect on the eyes as well.
Yeah, so you're wondering if it's more of like an infection or
Mind control.
disease or mind control, or could the dread Dormammu be trying to get a hold of the world this way? It's just really lots of open to possibility stuff.
It's good theory, Freddie.
I think we're all forgetting one awesome villain that they could pull in here. Shumagorath.
That's true.
Giant eyeball with tentacles. Why not?
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure they're probably going to shy away with something like
think?
that. I mean, so far to date, Marvel has only given us iconic characters. They've strayed away. Now, I'll back up just a
Yeah.
touch. We can go to Guardians of the Galaxy, where we did see
Ronan.
some interesting ones. But I think with Doctor Strange, it's a character that there really isn't a lot of exposure as far as when it comes to media outside of comic books. So I think they want to make sure they tread a little lightly here.
You sure though, with like how mainstream all H.P. Lovecraft stuff is going, a creature that is inspired almost by H.P. Lovecraft kind of mythology and look couldn't be a good big selling point? Like, you don't know anything about Dormammu or Baron Mordo or any of Doctor Strange's villains, but everybody knows Cthulhu to some extent. Here's a Cthulhu-like monster. That's what he's fighting. That's the selling point, in my opinion.
Well, what do you think? What do you think, Craig?
I like Freddy's idea. I would love to see Shumagorath. Or could it even be, Doctor Strange has gone up against Mephisto, which, a devil-like character, which would be very...
That's an interesting idea because I know Al Pacino
Yes.
is wanting to be in the Marvel Universe ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think he should play Mephisto. Who else can he play?
Oh, that would be an amazing Mephisto.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Devil's Advocate Part 2.
Well, there are a few characters that they can reach from in the Darkness series of Marvel, which extends through characters like Blackheart and Mephisto.
Yeah, because they have Ghost Rider back, don't they?
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they
Yeah,
could
'cause
use
they could-
Blackheart.
Yeah.
And there's actually a rumor out there that this could be Blackheart as the villain. So I guess we're just going to
Wow.
kind of have to wait and actually see what happens. But
As long as they do it better than Ghost Rider, I'll be happy.
If they threw in Ghost Rider, though,
Oh, that'd just be too much.
well,
happiness.
Marvel right now is definitely prone to giving us a surprise out of nowhere, especially
true.
with the whole Spider-Man announcement and the placement of him in the trailer. So who knows? That could be it. But also in these images that we've seen, they've actually put out an image with Baron Mordo, who's played by I'm going to try and get this right, Chiwetel Ejiofor. And he's going to be our Baron Mordo in the upcoming Marvel film. Let's take a look at the images. So there is our first look.
that Bristol
Now,
run.
in these images we've seen, he is actually alongside Doctor Strange as a sidekick or as an ally, which we all know from the comic books that Baron Mordo is Doctor Strange's oldest villain.
Yeah.
So the question wonders, where are Marvel going to lead us in the start of this movie? Craig?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if are they going to try and make Baron Mordo a good guy that falls to darkness, and so he would actually be a companion to Doctor Strange at first, kind of like Bucky Barnes was before he became the Winter Soldier. Or is he, like in the second image over there, where it looks like he has one of those guys with the creepy eyes right behind him. Is he
Yeah.
leading him to Doctor Strange, or we're just kind of guessing here, but
Freddie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know with the Doctor Strange animated feature film that I saw a long time ago, which they said would kind of be the blueprint for whatever they did, that's kind of what they had. Was Baron Mordo was at first, he was going to be a hero at first, and then Doctor Strange came in, and that's where Baron Mordo turned bad. So I think that would be an interesting thing, because this guy, I feel like, has played a lot of heroes, but we always got to remember his turn as the villain from Serenity, where he played one of the most terrifying villains I've
that's
ever seen.
true. Good man, that's a great memory, Freddie.
Now, and I do like here in the second image we got
Mm-hmm.
Boogity Boo Eyes right there next to him chilling, but also I think in the little bit of the frame there you see Doctor Strange's cape, so
Oh, that's
it could
true, yeah.
it could just be both of them running
There are
from
a few
it.
more
Yeah.
images we have,
Yeah.
but to stick with Baron Mordo, now you mentioned the Doctor Strange animated series, which stayed somewhat true to the comics. If we look back on the history of Baron Mordo, in the comic books, initially he was a student alongside Stephen Strange, training with the Ancient One in competition to become the next Sorcerer Supreme. This is the only time in comics where they were somewhat allies. Other than that, it's been mostly villains. So we've seen other images from Doctor Strange where they do show him tattered, long beard. We assume this is the
Yeah.
journey to find the Ancient One after his infamous car accident, which leads him to search for these powers. So I guess the only thing that maybe we can make an assumption is that they're going to show the growth from Strange seeking the Ancient One, and then meeting Baron Mordo and becoming a student / competition for this Sorcerer Supreme. Ultimately, we know Doctor Strange gets the title, and Baron Mordo becomes the villain. So that's kind of a safe assumption. Do you agree with that, Craig?
I think that's a very safe assumption, and that would make a really interesting movie. It'd be much better than to see the fall of Baron Mordo
Yeah.
than maybe just to jump right in as a villain. It would give you more, at least a hint of his motivation and of why he turns evil. At least you could see that process, which I think would be a much more interesting movie.
As much as I love Marvel films and Marvel in general, they do have a rinse and repeat cycle with the way they put their villains in, and I do think what's going to happen is they're going to reiterate the Loki storyline, where he starts off like playing both sides in a sense, where my brother, you're my best friend, and da 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 da. The whole time he's like stabbing him in the back. That's kind of
It's-
what I think Baron Mordo is going to end up doing.
And yeah, that would be a very Baron Mordo trick that he was doing, because in the early comic books, he was kind of like a Loki character that would pretend to be your friend
Yeah.
and then magic you in the back. And so yeah, that I could see that happening as well. But hopefully this will be something different, with a new director and a different take on things. Maybe it would be just a really cool idea where you see the villain fall and become despicable.
Well, these are our opinions. Make sure you guys out there on the chat feel free to chime in with your opinions. We're only speculating at this point, but we're always up for some interesting theories and ideas. So let's take a look at, well, the title character and look at Doctor Strange himself, a little battle tested on what we assume are the streets of New York. Let's take a look here. We've got a little blood. We've got definitely a worn look with a little CGI marker in the back. There's clearly going to be some sets that are taken and used in post later. Oh, there we finally get the cape. Yes.
And the Eye of Agamotto.
Absolutely. And let's see what we got here. There's some action scenes. We've got him
Flipping everybody off.
Yes.
That's pretty much what it looks like he's doing. We're assuming some a chanting spell of some sort.
He's summoning Ozzy.
I love the cape. Yeah.
Well, and for the cosplayers out there, we definitely get a good look at the costume as well as the interior and the exterior of the cape.
Yeah, the
So,
cape looks great.
We definitely get some detail as far as how this costume is going to come out. So I'm sure we will see a few Stephen Stranges out there in the convention scene.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And here we have Baron Mordo and Doctor Strange together in an action scene, obviously as allies from the look of it. So this could lead to more speculation as to what we said earlier. So what do you think so far? Just pretty simple. It's kind of hard to really.
But yeah, I can't wait for this movie to come out. I love the fact that they got, they changed Doctor Strange's costume. It doesn't look exactly like it does in the comic, but yet it still is close enough to the comic that you could instantaneously recognize that's Doctor Strange.
Yes. Well, that dude Daniel actually chimed in here. He asked if the main villain could be Eternity.
That's a great one.
Tell us a little bit about Eternity.
So Eternity is literally one of the super beings of the universe. He's literally is eternity. He is neither good nor evil because all he cares about is the universe and the freedom of the universe. And so if he deems that, you are no longer needed in the universe, he will just get rid of you. And so he sometimes pops up as he's neither really truly a villain nor a good person. He's above all of that. He's kind of like a god. It's the closest thing that Marvel would have to a godlike figure.
Well, and from what we know of the comics, the Eternity is the Ancient One. The Ancient One was the Sorcerer Supreme, who in turn passed the moniker of that on to Doctor Strange, and in turn, the Ancient One became Eternity. So there is definitely a something we could tie it all together. So
yeah, that is true.
all right, let's take one last little image we got here, and obviously some CGI, more CGI effects, some background stuff.
I think that's going to be Doctor Strange's house.
Yeah, that's got to be the
Yes.
Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like that is definitely going to be it. And do you think these are actually done on location, or do you think this is a complete set they've actually built?
I think this is a set. It's got to be.
Now, from the other images, they actually do look like they are on the streets of
Yeah.
New York. So
Yeah.
Greenwich
kind of
Village.
curious. And this is the only images they've released. They've been pretty tight-lipped so far as Marvel goes. The reason they did, finally release these images is it was the kind of their announcement of the end of production, the end of principal photography. So they are definitely heading into post, and I'm pretty sure we'll probably see some more fully rendered images coming out pretty soon, and hopefully a trailer. That's for sure.
And what's cool about it is they were actually in New York because they stopped by one of the local comic book stores in full costume still.
Yeah, they got
And-
videos online of him talking, right? to
Talking up there,
customers
and
stuff.
that's amazing that they actually took time out of their time just to go visit a local comic book store, still in the costume, and actually went out and promoted Doctor Strange comic books. It was just fantastic.
And there's actually footage of Benedict Cumberbatch and his wife having dinner at a local restaurant while he was in full Doctor Strange regalia.
Just why not?
Because why not? Because it just proves
That's-
more to the awesome.
Yes.
I would
nature
like to
of-
get eggs Benedict.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's
Anything
the only way
business?
you could order if you were dressed as Doctor Strange.
I would like to think of him as the guy from Venture Brothers. If you're gonna go out like that, you got to do it like the guy from Venture
Yes.
Brothers. Like, oh, I would like a menu.
Why not? I think we have a new idea for you, Freddie.
What is it?
We'll dress you up as Doctor Strange and take you to a Denny's and let you go to town.
I would like the Grand Slam, please. Hold the mustard.
definitely chime in for that. We get enough people letting us know. We might have to just make that happen.
You know
Yes.
I do it too. All right, I have to take this opportunity to put out a question here and
Okay.
maybe just a thought. So I know a couple episodes back, some people were asking if we think Howard the Duck's going to make another appearance, possibly in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think if they truly want to wow me with this movie, they will go old school Steve Gerber, Howard the Duck, Doctor Strange crossover, and we'll get Howard the Duck summoned by Doctor Strange on accident. That's after the credits scene, millions of dollars right there.
Craig, I got nothing on that remark. Do you?
I don't think I can handle Howard the Duck in Doctor Strange.
He
I
hangs
know
out
he-
with them all the time, though.
I know, but I just think it'd be much cooler if we can get other stuff.
My original
Like
idea.
I like your Ghost Rider idea a lot better. Or,
If Ghost Rider just pops up, he's like,
or-
yeah, welcome
yeah.
to hell.
I mean, I like that idea so much better than Seymour Howard the Duck, because Howard the Duck works with Guardians. What
But-
they're trying to do with Doctor Strange, I don't know if it would work.
It works perfectly with if you read the original comics. though.
We'll let Freddie have that theory on his
All
own.
right.
But that dude Daniel does mention that both of them are amazing actors and fit for the roles, which
Oh,
is
yes.
which is absolutely correct. They're both amazing. So from what we've seen, I mean, do you guys think what are your expectations so far? Does it put any expectations in your head, or do you still need to see more?
I want to see old school Steve Ditko drawings come to life. The biggest thing I took from Ant-Man was when he like shrunk down so much into like the microverse basically. That's all those images. That was straight up Steve Ditko. Peyton Reed, the director, even said that, and I would love to see that on the screen for Doctor Strange in a whole full-length feature film. And I love Scott Derrickson. I'll watch anything that dude does. So I'm so down for this movie either way. Now, granted, as I've said many a times, I would much rather have had Viggo Mortensen, who was approached for the role, because I'm not one of those guys that's like Benedict Cumberbatch is the end all be all. I personally think he should play Beavis or Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, but because he looks like one of them.
Well, and that's
Okay.
what Oscar-winning role that would be.
That wouldn't be
Yes.
amazingly Oscar-winning role. Just him
All
like
right, Craig, what do you think as far as what's kind of you thinking now for Doctor Strange?
It would be amazing to see. I mean, basically, what I'd like to see is him actually going into the astral form and going into other dimensions and all of that type of stuff, as Freddie kind of mentioned as well. But expectations, it already looks
The astral
amazing,
plane is definitely going to be
Is it?
a main
'Cause I-
factor in this.
which makes sense. It's a Doctor Strange movie. If you don't have the astral plane, then you don't have Doctor Strange.
Which
Exactly.
I will say, for people looking for comics to read with the Doctor Strange of this caliber, I have heard that the screenplay is based mainly on the Oath miniseries that came out not too long ago. So if you can
Interesting.
track that down, they just did a bunch of reprints, graphic novel form. So definitely read that one.
And Freddie should know. Now we got a couple of hashtags popping up on chat. Hashtag Freddie at Denny's. That's one of them.
Yes.
We can get that going. As well as hashtag Dr. Freddie.
I like Dr. Freddy.
I think
French.
Dr. Strange Freddie would be
Dr.
a more-
Frange, if you will.
Doctor
would be more
Strange.
appropriate. But that's all we have right now. So
Yep.
we all we can do is wait, see what
November.
happens, wait for more information comes out. I do know Marvel, now that they've finished principal photography with Doctor Strange, are moving over to Thor
Yes.
With the
And-
director of What We Do in the Shadows.
and Spider-Man, the solo Spider-Man movie. So we've heard production on both those films will begin in the summer. So we've got a lot more Marvel
Man,
news
there's-
coming out, along with Civil War getting ready to launch. It's going to be a Marvel-tastic summer, that's
It
for
is.
sure. Maybe it'll get rid of a little bit of that DC angst we are all feeling. That is not a shot fired at DC, but it is a shot.
It's a
Yes,
shot fired at Matt Partain.
Matt, we miss you.
Yeah.
So that's what we got. Now, sticking with Marvel, it is also recently announced that Elektra will be returning to the pages of Daredevil. Is this news surprising at all, guys?
No.
Surprising? No, probably not, because she's such. Well, first of all, you just had the TV, the Netflix TV show that had Daredevil and Elektra right out there.
Which is probably the main catalyst that is bringing Elektra to the forefront. And now,
Right.
she's not in the comic books, so she's popular on the show. Well, we've got to put her right back.
And, Daredevil and Elektra are, those two work together just amazingly.
Batman and Robin.
Kind of like
Yeah.
a Batman and Robin, but maybe more backstabby. But
If Robin were more badass.
yeah,
Freddie,
But-
what do you think? Are you excited to see this?
I mean, it's hard for me to get excited for comic books by either Marvel or DC anymore, unless it's like one of their fringe characters. Because a lot of times, for me personally, as I'm working in the store, I'm just like, oh, this movie came out, so this is the big thing now. Like Civil War. Civil War 2's coming out and happening, which I'm just like, Mark Miller's not writing it. What is it? Why is it 2? It's kind of weird. So this is not surprising because also the new Punisher series is coming out, which of course with the Daredevil series now with the Elektra being so popular too, it's just a comeback. I mean, like we'll have another one. Until I read it, I won't really be that excited because how many more returns of all these characters can we get?
Well, and she's already come back from the dead once, and
well,
the interesting thing
she
to
didn't.
see.
Well, it's true, but in the comic books, she wasn't dead.
Right, in
Yeah.
this version,
She
she's
did
not
have
dead.
She did have her own comic book for a while, and it was amazing. The art
Yeah.
was actually incredible, and it was Elektra like you wanted to see her as a kind of it was an assassin.
Yeah.
But she would do good things just because.
It just all feels like a renumbering again. You know what I mean?
So do you think this is going to be a rehash of some of the old familiar storylines?
Not a rehash of the familiar storylines. It's just a lot of times with Marvel and DC, they're so big on getting new people in. They'll be like, first issue, even though it's got a continuity from like 50 issues ago.
Right.
And so that's, I don't know.
Well, the comic book industry in general is a little first issue happy.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And so we'll probably get a new Elektra, a new Punisher, a first issue of just about everything. And it starts with, I guess, everything that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel TV series are putting out there. They're bringing these characters to the forefront. And so we're probably going to see a few more characters come out as well.
which doesn't bother me at all. Punisher needs to be back in his own comic book.
He's coming back.
Which he is coming back. He needs to be back in his own comic book because that's one of the comic books and always one of the characters that I've always loved, even though he's bat crap crazy. But so I cannot wait to see him in his own comic book. And if Luke Cage gets his own comic book, I'm also all for that.
Power Man and Iron Fist is going on right now. But
Yes.
what we need for me to like get super excited, best run on Punisher is probably Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis, if you don't know, wrote, Preacher, which is coming out soon. He wrote Crossed, The Boys, a lot of my favorite comics. They're insane. They're perfect for that kind of stuff. And if we got him on an Elektra comic, that would get me as excited to see like Frank Miller come back like he did with Dark Knight 3.
It would make a great comic book if you could put if they would bring back the Max title of comics and put Elektra back into like the Max, where you could take a very, very adult and view of comic book characters.
Now,
like they
hold
did
on
with
there,
the Punisher.
Craig. This is the same line of thinking that led us to the current version of Batman versus Superman we have.
Yes, true, but Elektra, we already know Elektra kills people.
Yeah, Elektra
This
and
is
Punisher
sick.
are actual assassins.
yes.
Batman's not supposed to be an
Right,
assassin.
This is true.
So I don't think seeing a super dark Elektra is going to really upset anybody because we already know she's out there killing people anyways.
Interesting. Well, just to go back to the Marvel number ones, this week we also get a Black Panther number one release. in
That is
comics.
tomorrow, good
Yes.
sirs.
So there's definitely a trend and a pretty obvious pattern going on with that.
That's all right. Black Panther deserves to be in a comic book as well. I loved him growing up, and I was just sad to see him go. And he was gone out of comic books, except as an ulterior character in like Avengers or stuff like that for a long time. So it's great to see him back in his own book.
Now, I think the last time we actually saw Black Panther in his own, I don't think it even was his own series, but it was the Marvel Comics weekly pages.
Yeah.
Back in the late 80s. I think was the only time we've really seen solo stories from Black Panther. So it will definitely be good to see
last
that.
one was 2000 and
Oh, that's true because he did have some
He
solo
was
book.
Black Panther had a solo series right after.
That's why
Civil-
you're our comic book expert.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Fred.
right after Civil War because that's when I was like, I gotta read everything that happens after Civil War.
Yeah.
So it was like Black
Was it
Panther
a one shot or an actual
Because
series?
full
No, he
series
did have a full
because
series
he
'cause
led the
that's-
Fantastic Four. Because
Yes.
of what happened in Civil War, Reed and Sue take off. So it's Johnny and the Thing, and Storm and Black Panther are married. So they headed the Fantastic Four. And they were doing all these weird Fantastic Four adventures, and Black Panther was as smart as Reed Richards,
But-
if not smarter.
Yeah, but again, he wasn't had his solo title. He was
That
with
was his
other
solo title.
characters though, because he was with the Fantastic Four.
But that continued from his solo title, though.
So
Well,
was it an
that's true,
offshoot of
yeah.
Civil War?
It started from Civil War, where he picked up the crew, because during Civil War, he had his own stuff where he was like, taking over Wakanda and stuff like that. Then it continued into him leading the Fantastic Four, but it was his own solo comic because it was all about him basically.
But yeah, I do remember that now. But
he-
it's still been a very long
He
time.
fought
to
the
see
Marvel
Black
Zombies
Panther.
at one point.
He was in
Yeah, because that was when we got their like second or third return, I think.
Yeah.
Was
I
in Black
actually do
Panther
remember that
comics.
So
Well, interesting. So that's definitely something to look forward to see how Marvel will take the future success of their movies and TV series and translate them to the comics. We do know that they seem to be making a push towards transitioning mutants out of their out of the Marvel history.
Sad
Clearly,
face,
we
sad
do know
face.
that is because of the licensing with Fox. That they do not have control
The
over.
evil corporation known as Fox.
Absolutely. So there are definitely a lot more, or there is definitely a lot more control from the studios as to what is now coming out in comics. It's not just comics dictating the movies anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for that. Now, we said we wanted to be done with Batman versus Superman. But unfortunately, this snowball effect of this movie is going to continue, and there is just tons of information and rumors coming out there, and we still want to address them, but we just can't avoid it, so we're gonna have to. But most interestingly enough, a rumor, and take this with a grain of salt, that Atlantis would be the primary antagonist and not Darkseid. Is this just the usual rumor mill stuff, or is there some actual weight to this one, Freddie?
I could see that happening because all the DC superheroes are supervillains now. In the movies, apparently. That's what we do. Especially after, Aquaman and his pokey stick for like 10 seconds when what was it, the little thing under
was
the
a-
camera
yeah.
was just staring at him. He's like,
underwater vehicles.
I'm
just a
eye
drone.
candy for the audience. Poke.
And then we see a sonic boom underwater.
Yeah.
That was about all we got.
So I guess that could be like the catalyst, like explosion, take down of Atlantis. He's like, I will kill all the land dwellers now.
Well, but that's it. Atlantis has attacked the surface dwellers before, so it's not out of the
But it's not
possibility.
in the movie verse yet, has it? Though?
Not yet.
That's
no,
what I'm saying.
well,
Like that's
it
the
happens-
catalyst to make it
has
happen.
happened in animated verse, if that's
Yeah.
a thing. But
Aniverse.
but maybe that be something that could make it into the movies where Atlantis attacks, so to speak, and then does Aquaman join with his fellow Atlanteans, or does he help the surface dwellers?
He's apparently powerful enough to take out Superman in the comics now. So
Well, yes. One of the interesting theories they have on, out there in the interwebs that you guys can discuss here on chat, and I'd find it fascinating, is maybe Wonder Woman and Aquaman are actually ancient Kryptonians that escaped the planet long before Superman did. And they just been on Earth for so long, they forgot that they were actually Kryptonians. Hence, Wonder Woman has been here for, centuries and just didn't know that she was a Kryptonian, never heard about it. And, or Aquaman.
Well, Craig is just shaking up the DC universe on his own.
yeah,
Yes.
for real, man.
Yeah,
Like
he's
Jesus.
just-
Aquaman actually falls into the water. We know that Superman doesn't necessarily need to breathe, so Aquaman, Kryptonian being underwater all this time wouldn't be that far out of possibilities.
No,
You think he's reaching there, Freddie?
no, I just don't want.
I have a sense that you
feel
kind
like-
of disagree a
I
little
know,
bit
it's just
with
something
him.
like Zack Snyder's watching somewhere and he's just like, oh, yes, one. Tell me what I should do now.
Zack Snyder, if you do use that, I want a credit.
Okay, so let's take this theory of Craig's, a little bit of Craig's theory,
Yes.
and say if we do go to Atlantis as the antagonist, where does that leave us from the movie? Because we clearly have this build up towards Darkseid
So-
with the whole Lex thing.
Right.
The image of the demons coming from the sky, we turn the image upside down at the end. It all leads to Darkseid. He is coming. Well, apparently it could be he is coming from the deep.
The deer.
Now, does that even make any sense? I mean,
No.
are we just,
No.
Is Craig just ridiculous?
Craig is being a little ridiculous.
Craig is
yes.
being a little ridiculous, folks.
But
it's okay. We're going to allow it. Definitely, if you guys have some outlandish theories, just like Craig, feel free to let us know on chat. We'd love to hear where we could end up with this. Why not at this point? We clearly got the Batman versus Superman movie none of us expected. So who knows where they could go from here.
I will give DC this. If the point of going to the movies is coming out talking about movies, I'll say this: DC has definitely got everybody talking about their movie,
And
whether it's
children
good or
crying
bad.
everywhere.
But yeah, good or bad, they
Absolutely.
do have them
I
talking.
guess in this point, any press is good press.
That's true. That's true.
I want to say Daily Coaster says what Matt would say in this situation. Multiverse! Which I say to that, murderverse.
Which pretty much would be the case.
But-
And speaking of Daily Coaster, we would like to thank him for sending us these lovely coasters that we've all received. Made some for Nerd Ninja, and we use here on the show. We would like to thank Daily Coaster for sending that out. And if you'd like to check out more of his work, you can visit dailycoaster.com and see what other great products he has to offer.
I also want to mention Daily Coaster. Thank you for remembering this is the one I wanted to be Wonder Woman, Lucy Lawless. Thank you.
So if you guys have any products out there that you would like us to feature on the show, by all means, send them to us, and we will get you a little airtime on the Nerd Ninja Show. So back to rumors. Here's the big one. I know we just can't seem to get away from DC. I'm sure Matt would be happy
Yeah.
about
He's
that.
having a heart attack somewhere.
But more information has been released in the aftermath of Bat vs. Supes, and that is that Ben Affleck is being asked to write and possibly direct a solo Batman film. Think this will happen, guys? What do you think?
So down. I'm so down.
Now we all know we want this. This is clearly what the fans have talked about. But a quote from Zack Snyder is that he has talked to Ben Affleck. Unfortunately, Ben Affleck notoriously works only on one film at a time. He's got one in post-production now, and the next one up on the slate is Justice League, and then Justice League Part 2. So we also assume that if they land Affleck, Batfleck, that he is also going to want to write, produce, and direct this film. So that kind of leaves a lot on his plate there, which could very well get pushed back for about 4 to 5 years. So what are your thoughts on those comments, Freddie?
Oh, man. Jesus. I know he's also been on the Stand film, the adaptation of Stephen King's book, for a while. I think honestly Batman vs. Superman kind of killed his gusto for anything because he's so depressed. Because you got to think, Kevin Smith was the one who got him into Daredevil, and the only reason he did that was because he loved the Frank Miller material for Batman, and that was the closest he thought he was ever going to get to it. Finally gets his dream job. All the critics bash him, and while some fans hate him, some fans love him, a lot of us love him, I still love him. I was already down for it ever since Argo Bleep Yourself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, also with this huge drop-off, what was it, 61% drop in sales in a week?
For the second week out. Yeah, there has been some drop-off.
I don't blame him if he's maybe I don't know.
Now, he has recently gone online, and there seems to be a little backpedaling going on about the movie and his role. But, ultimately, it's going to be a matter of how much money will he get. That always tends to jar some bad memories loose.
College tuition.
Yes.
Craig, what are your thoughts on Affleck doing this?
I think it'd be great. I think if DC really wanted to put a good positive spin off Batman versus Superman, let him do this film. Let him do his own thing. Let him explain why Batman was this dark. Why was he this crazy, this murderous, so to speak. I think that would make it a very positive. Everything, the chat would go very, very positive in that direction. And so I think this would be a brilliant move on their part to try and get him back up the truckload of money to his house, and to say, hey, we want you to do this because we know it's the right thing to do. People want this, and we know you're going to be awesome at it.
Well, I think most of the saving grace from this film was that Affleck was the Batman we were looking for. The writing was not exactly what we were looking for the character, but we were still happy with Ben Affleck. So it would make sense for them to say, okay, guys, we're going to put out a Justice League movie. We're going to put out a Wonder Woman movie. We're going to put out a Justice League Part 2 movie and anything else we can think of. But in about 6 years, we will finally get you what you want in having a solo Batman film. So they may, dangle the carrot in front of us just to keep us going.
God.
So that could be the bad thing.
But in the meantime, maybe we can get some other characters. We got the Wonder Woman going out there. Maybe we can get some of the other DCU characters out there that would be.
You ready for Green Lantern 2?
Not ready for Green Lantern, but
I want the Jack Black Green Lantern I was promised.
Oh, in Blackest Day.
no.
I'd watch that because it'd be way better than that
we would
Ryan
have
Reynolds
the
movie.
Jack Black Green Lantern along with the Nick Cage Superman.
Let's do it.
You know what?
But,
It could.
maybe you can put out like a cyborg movie. I would think that would be amazing.
I say
get some of the
Batman-
lesser known characters out there.
It's worked with Marvel.
Yeah.
It's worked with Marvel. So.
Put Cyborg out there, or the Atom, or some of these other characters you don't see very often. Maybe get their chance to shine and be, maybe people gravitate to them.
We know the DC TV universe is definitely grabbing characters left and right. So we've got a lot out there, and at some point they're going to have to dip back into that well and see if they can generate anything magical for the aftermath, as we like to call it. It's I guess we're going to have a before BVS and an after BVS, life before BVS. That's just what we're going to have to hashtag life before BVS. We're going to have to make that a thing happening.
I say give me Clayface or give me Death. I want him on screen. Finally, please, God. I want it so bad.
Isn't
Ron
he coming?
Perlman voices him. That's what I want.
There you go. All right.
Well, good. Maybe we'll get lucky and that will happen.
We got him coming in Gotham, but I don't
Yep.
see them actually doing actual Clayface. Sadness.
No, it is going to be before he becomes Clayface. So, sadly, that's what's going to happen. Well, guys, just like every week, you know what tomorrow is.
It's the best day of the week.
It's a new comic book day.
Yes.
That's right. It is new comic book day, and we have our comic book picks of the week. These are the 3 titles we think you should not miss while grabbing your regular titles off of the shelves. So, Freddie, you are the comic book guru.
See?
So, what pick do you have for us this week?
Oh, guys, something special here. With the release of Star Wars on DVD and Blu-ray today, tomorrow we get Star Wars Poe Dameron. The writer is Charles Soule, art by Phil Noto, and cover is also by Phil Noto. This is the first Episode 7-centric comic we have other than the Shattered Empire prequel comic.
Which was before.
Yes, this is the first one to actually be in the Episode 7 post original trilogy universe release. So I'm pretty psyched about this.
Now, is this going to actually be post Episode 7, or are we going to get a little bit of backstory?
I think it's going to be backstory, like leading into how he forms his squadron and everything, and the original members of his squadron going into the battles of Episode 7, I believe.
All right, interesting. Definitely look out for that. I know I'm a fan of variant covers, and they always put out the vintage carded Star Wars covers.
Oh, we got
I'm
that.
a big fan of that.
We got like
So we get
80 covers for Poe Dameron.
Yes, I'm sure there's going to be 1 or 2 out there. Craig, what do you have for us?
I have Empress #1. As Freddie will
Another
tell-
number 1.
Another #1, yes. But this one actually doesn't have anything to do with any Marvel character. It's a brand new group of characters by Mark Millar and art by Stuart Immonen. And the cover is also by Stuart Immonen. And I apologize if I butchered that name.
No, you got it right. You're good.
Oh, nice. So, Empress, imagine if you're actually married to the villain in a sci-fi universe. You're actually married to the dictator of the universe, the most awful thing that could ever be, and that he's feared throughout the galaxy. Just completely a terrible person. So now you know that the only thing that could save you is by escaping and taking your 3 children and trying to escape. How would you escape this villain where all you have are you, your 3 children, a bodyguard, and 3 guns? With Mark Millar at the helm, it's going to be amazing.
It very much sounds like, I will say, if Dale Arden had married Ming the Merciless and Flash Gordon.
Yes.
Definitely has that look there. We've got
Yes.
that dude Daniel posting Independence Day #1 also comes out.
That was actually last week.
Oh, it was last week.
Yes, I did not get to check that out because we sold out like crazy.
It was really, really good. That dude Daniel, check it out. It was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, my pick for you guys is Uncanny X-Men #6, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Greg Land, as well as cover by Greg Land. In fact, there are a couple of variants out there that give nod to the classic late 80s, 90s X-Men, including a cover by, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Whilce Portacio,
Yes.
who was one of my favorite X-Men artists. So this comic continues the Apocalypse Wars, and we actually have Psylocke stumbling across a mindless archangel who then proceeds, or we're a little concerned that he may have fallen prey to Apocalypse and become Death, just like he was all those years ago in the comic titles of X Factor, where Apocalypse took a broken, no-winged angel and created him into this form. So this continues a storyline where the X-Men now have to go and find out if Archangel is under Apocalypse's control again. So definitely check out Uncanny X-Men #6.
Definitely.
Boy, Greg Land really put that spittle in his mouth.
Yes, he did. So those are our comic book picks of the week for you guys. Make sure you check those out. And by all means, feel free to give us what you would think would be a good pick. And keep that in chat as well. So it's that time where we like to take a minute. Take a little minute. Can we take a minute?
I got a minute.
All right, fantastic.
Let's go.
And we want to talk about the coolest thing we saw this week. And it could be anything in the nerd world. Craig, what's the coolest thing you saw this week?
Yeah, the teaser trailer of the Killing Joke animated movie. And it is absolutely amazing. It is a teaser trailer, so you get to hear some of the voices. Obviously, you will get to hear Batman, and at the end, you get to hear a little bit of the Joker's voice.
Mark Hamill cackle. Ooh.
Oh, it is absolutely amazing. And for people who are worried about this, I think you're going to be really, really happy about this. Just based on the teaser trailer alone, you get to see a lot of the images that you remember from the comic book itself. The crazy fun house that you throw Detective Gordon in there. It's just so many great stuff out of the comic book. It does look like we're going to get a lot more story with Batgirl, which, she's going to be voiced by Tara Strong. So I'm all down for that. And it would be great because that way, she didn't have a lot of stuff going on in the comic book. So it would be nice to see her more fleshed out.
She did play a very, very small role.
Yes.
It was more of a side note to taking Commissioner Gordon and taking him into madness. So
Yes. And
they definitely flesh out that.
Yeah, so try not to spoil that part. If you haven't read the comic, I highly recommend checking out the comic. But yes, so that was the thing that made me the happiest the most, because it looks like they are literally bringing that comic to life, which Disney Animation does bring the comics that you want to see.
You mean Warner Brother Animation?
Yes, Warner Brother Animation. Sorry.
I was like, when did that happen? Oh my God.
I apologize, people. My brain just
Not
left
breaking
me.
news. It is not breaking news. Well, along with the teaser trailer for The Killing Joke, there's actually a 10-minute behind-the-scenes preview, which has interviews with Bruce Timm and Brian Bolin, and I think there's even a couple comments in there from Alan Moore that talk about what went into creating this. They even show some fantastic comic book page to animation cell crossover, so we can see how direct how a lot of the images they took directly from the comic book. So it's definitely going to be exciting when that comes out. Freddie, you have any thoughts on that?
Alan Moore is insane. That's my first thought. I'm kind of surprised that he is on that at all in any capacity, because I imagine the whole time he'd be like, well, I was thinking of this comic, but then I realized I got to go pray to my snake god and see if he's okay with me doing something today. And I'm okay, Alan Moore, that's cool, man. Like, I'm surprised he has anything to do with this in any capacity, even if it's on like a 10-minute documentary thing.
I think it was more of the documentary thing. I think he was just talking about his role in the comic book.
They stole the clip from something. Like, he doesn't know we got him. That's what I imagine would happen, because that dude's insane.
And he's not very... I mean, he's been mad at DC for years.
You've ruined comic books. I would love to hear what Batman and versus Superman thoughts he has.
Oh,
because dear God.
That would probably be something more than we could handle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Freddie, what is your coolest thing you saw this week?
All right, guys, everybody watching. Does anybody remember a little movie called Starman? It's directed by John Carpenter, one of the greatest directors of all time, starring Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen.
Now, was this 1981? 80?
Early
80s?
No, I think it was 85 or 86
Okay.
because it was right after The Thing. Because when it was 84 because ET came out in 84, correct?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with yes on that. So ET comes out.
Chat, help
Same
us out.
time, John Carpenter's remake of Howard Hawkins' The Thing comes out. Most brutal effects of all time. Rob Bottin effects, insanity, depressing, hardcore. Then you have that juxtaposed with E.T. I love you, Elliot. John Carpenter is bashed. Everyone hates him. This is the first movie he's made where it's just like going down the drain. What does he do? We're going to make an apology sci-fi movie that's full of good heart and happiness. So he literally took this job out of nowhere, just like, dear God, I need to make a good-hearted sci-fi movie. And that was Starman. Starman was basically Karen Allen and Jeff Bridges' characters were married. Jeff Bridges' character is deceased, and this alien force comes down and replicates Jeff Bridges' image. And Karen Allen, being in love with Jeff Bridges' character, not the alien, helps him across the U.S. while the government tracks him down to get him home.
Well, it actually creates with the piece of his DNA. Some
Exactly.
hair. There was a
Yes.
hair sample.
Yes. And so it is one of my favorite movies because I love John Carpenter, but it's also a really great romance story. John Carpenter's always said, this is my romance movie that I will make. It's the only like true blue one. So I love this movie. Cry like a baby every time. It has one of my favorite lines of all time where one of the government agents comes across Karen Allen, Jeff Bridges, and he's about to turn him in, but Jeff Bridges says, you know, the thing I find fascinating about you humans is you are at your best when things are at their worst. And that was one of my favorite quotes. Carried me forever.
So, what do you think about Sean Levy taking the reins on this?
Okay, that's where I'm scared. Because Sean Levy, if you guys don't know, he did the Night at the Museum movies and a bunch of other movies like that. Kind of kid schlock, in my opinion. But whereas old school 80s kids movies are fun, this newer generation of kids movies are all fart jokes.
So, Ben Stiller as Starman.
Dear God, no. The only thing that has me hopeful is his adaptation of Real Steel, which is based on a short story by, I totally blanked on it. The guy who made,
So, Hugh Jackman as Starman. Just going to keep...
Oh,
just
God.
keep telling you all the... Because, typically we have directors that like to use actors. They take the actors
he's
they've worked
never
with,
really
and that's what they've done.
stuck with one, though. Like Ben Stiller, only because they're sequels. So I don't know. I loved Real Steel, though. So Richard Matheson, that's the writer of the original Real Steel. So and that's Richard Matheson, of course, did a bunch of Twilight Zone episodes. I think Sean Levy has the potential, after seeing Real Steel, to bring something like that to contemporary audiences. I just don't know if I want this one remade. Because at this point, there has not been a single John Carpenter remake that I find even worth a salt.
All right. Well, I guess that's the coolest thing you've seen. Yeah,
It's
a little
confusingly
disjointed.
cool.
It's confusingly cool.
I'm torn. I
Well,
love
that's
Karen
okay.
Allen.
Because my coolest thing I saw this week is something I actually haven't seen. It's actually the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens on Blu-ray, which came out today. So the coolest thing I will see this week is all the behind-the-scenes features that this Blu-ray definitely has waiting for us. So that's going to be something I look forward to. I know we've got a couple of scenes they've released from the Kylo Ren walking through the Millennium Falcon, which is going to be fantastic. And I'm a big fan of all the behind-the-scenes stuff, the CGI, the practical effects, how they were all used to create this movie. And so I am definitely looking forward to that.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's
That
going to
is
be
gonna
great.
be awesome.
So make sure you guys go pick up your copy. There are about 800 different editions that you can find. So
Pick
just
one of each.
pick one of each. I know several people have done the same. They couldn't decide, so they just grabbed them all.
I'm gonna plug Best Buy again, as I usually do, because they have a sale going on for the Blu-ray DVD combo pack, $19.99. Comes with all special features.
Which they also have a Kylo Ren steelbook
They
cover
do.
as well.
It's awesome looking.
So that's
I'm
one
broke,
thing
though.
you can check out. Well, thanks for hanging with us on our weekly walkthrough of everything nerd. Freddie, Craig, any final thoughts for the week? Craig, what you got?
I got Hardcore Henry opens up this weekend.
Oh,
Yes.
oh.
It looks absolutely amazing. It looks like if you're into first-person shooters, it's a first-person movie, so you only see everything through this guy's eyes. So it's a unique take on movie, and it should be a unique movie-going experience. Now, whether it'll cause motion sickness, I don't know.
Definitely will.
But
Well, we've
it
got
is
that.
unique.
We've got that first person aspect to it, which I don't know if you guys recall. Let's go back a handful of years to
Cloverfield.
Doom.
Oh God.
Yes.
We go back to Doom, where
Jesus.
during the film they actually, as
is true.
an homage to the video
game.
game, they go into a first person format for about 10 minutes, I think.
Probably the
is
best part of the film.
It was
And-
actually.
and so it was kind of the first iteration of first-person shooter on film, and now we're actually going to get a full film of this.
I will say the difference though, that was a completely computer generated sequence.
Yes, yes, it was.
This one is going to have computer generated sequences plus live action sequences. I think that's going to be the big thing for me.
Well, I think just the over time, the ability to tighten up and make these things better is going to be good. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and you were always complaining that Hollywood is just making remakes and
Finally get
sequels. This is an original property. I love seeing that. So way to go, Hollywood. That alone makes me want to see this.
And you get Charlton Copley, in my opinion, the king of found footage in a sense, because of District 9 and all the other movies like that he's kind of done.
So if you're definitely tired of watching some scripts and characters rehashed, definitely check out Hardcore Henry. Now, we have a little bit of sad news that Freddie's going to tell us about. Freddie?
I just bring the whole room down, don't I?
I know we're going to end on a little sad note, but it needs to be done. Freddie?
Okay, so my last thing for the week is Eric Bowersfield, aka Admiral Akbar, and Bib Fortuna died on Sunday at the age of 93, though. 93.
So that's a life well
Long.
lived.
Only did like 4 or 5 films. Return of the Jedi was one of them. He did Artificial Intelligence, and then he came back to play Admiral Akbar again. That was him in the suit and everything, doing the voice as Admiral Akbar in The Force Awakens. So for that to be his last film, that's awesome to me.
Yes. A moment of silence. He will definitely be missed. One of the greatest lines that has ever hit film, that has been said countless times by everything in the nerd culture, and then some.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Nerd Ninja Show. And remember, if you have any comments or opinions outside of the show, you can contact us on any social media using the handle Nerd Ninja TV. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, where Freddie, the Fright Master, will be hosting another episode of the Nerd Ninja Horror Show right here on Nerd Ninja TV. You got anything good in store for us, Freddie?
Oh, man. Howling 35th Anniversary Retrospective, good sir. I cannot wait. And the baby anniversary of Slither for 10 years.
Fantastic. Well, join Ash Von Horror
Can't wait
and
for that.
your Fright Master Freddy tomorrow night at 8:30 Central Time for the Nerd Ninja Horror Show. And also, don't forget, we will have the Nerd Ninja Girl Show coming up Thursday. I believe we are going to be taking a week off, and we will catch that show the following Thursday, so be sure to tune in and keep updates on nerdninja.com to find out when many of our programs will air. So for Freddie and Craig, I have been your fill-in host, Joe Uribe, producer for Nerd Ninja TV. We'll see you nerds next week. Take care, guys.
All right. See you guys.
Concentrate all your firepower on that Superstar Destroyer.
Things are not all